Hello, all you happy people. How you doing? It is another fine day. Well, in California, in the world. Yeah, it's another fine, fun day here. We are hurtling super, super fast through April. I mean, I just blinked and it's April. It's going to be May. I'm sorry, I didn't say that right, did I? It's gonna be May. Yeah. Um, yeah, just around the corner. April's an interesting month for me because it's the good and the bad. You know, you got tax day. Got to be ready for tax day. You got to get your taxes done. Got to get your money sent in. And then the end of the month is my birthday. So it's like, oh, okay. Mr. Dope, how you doing? Good to see you. So, yeah, got the taxes done. Got that taken care of. Now, the Ed, good to see you. So, yeah, now I just got to get through next week, which is my birthday. And I say that funny. I say get through. Very specific reason. There was a point in my life that in a 5 year period, each of my four of the five birthdays in a 5 year period, I spent at funerals. And at almost all, I think at all of them, I was a pallbearer. So it wasn't just like a casual. So I mean, I was somehow connected. My grandmother was one of them. My ex-wife's father, a close friend of the family. I mean, it was a little ridiculous. I mean, my birthday would be coming up. People go, "What do you want for your birthday?" And my answer would be, "Don't die. Just don't die, because I don't want to go to a funeral. I don't. I don't want to carry your body. You know." I think that's. It reminds me of The Pit, the last episode of The Pit. Dr. Abbott said to Dr. Robbie, I'm still your emergency contact, and I don't want to be contacted. And that was his way of saying, take care of yourself, come back. So, yeah. But, yeah, so we're getting through April. By this time next week when you see me, I'll be older. Yep. Should come back with a full gray beard. Yeah, not long. Yeah. If you're curious, I am 55 right now? Yeah. I will be 56 on Wednesday. So hurtling closer and closer or quicker and quicker into oblivion. So, all right. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, the Clayface movie trailer is out. New Spider-Noir trailer is out. We had an episode of Daredevil, all of which pretty interesting stuff. So we're going to talk about all those things. My original plan for the weekend was very simple. And this comes another story. And I know Ed loves stories. So a lot of these times I tell these stories in my past. It's mainly for Ed. I mean, I hope you all enjoy it. But I know Ed loves these. So many, 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 many years ago, a friend of my brother's was getting married, a guy named Matt. And Matt wanted to have his bachelor party in Vegas. So the idea was, and this was in the 90s, I think. So the idea was everybody would hop on the plane, fly to Vegas, spend, a day there that night, and then the next day, and then fly back. And one of the people in the wedding party bailed, said, "No, I can't do it. I can't go." And Matt was having some problems with some other people. He was really upset. He's like, "Nobody wants to go to my bachelor party, da, da, da." And I'm sitting there. My brother was trying to calm him down. He's like, "Nobody wants to go." I said, "You know what? I'll go. I'll go to your bachelor party with you. He's like, oh my God, you will? I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh, that'd be awesome, man. You were always there, man. I'm like, okay. Um, so I ended up swapping tickets with somebody back when you could easily do that, and ended up spending a weekend in Vegas. The problem was I started feeling like crap before we went, like completely run down, sick. Should have just been in bed the whole weekend. But I couldn't bail on him at that point because everybody else had already bailed on him. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go. I'll go. I will do whatever the activities are, but there's going to be a lot of times where everybody's just off gambling or doing their thing individually, and I can go back to the room and rest. And that was my plan. And it worked out pretty well. Um, Besides being picked up on at a bar, at a dance club, which is a whole different story for another night, I just kept going from, okay, we're all going to lunch. Okay, I'm going back to the room. You guys go gamble. And when I went back to the room, I kept turning on the TV and laying down and watching TV while trying to get some rest. And the only thing on was this little thing called the NFL draft. And this is when it took place mainly on Saturday and Sunday during the day. It wasn't a big event. It wasn't hugely televised. If you want a specific year this was, it was when the Panthers drafted Ray Caruth, the guy who would end up hiring somebody to kill his girlfriend later on. Easy to remember Ray Caruth. And then got caught by the police and he tried to hide in the trunk of his car. Hello, Thomas. Hello, Jay. So I was in Vegas watching the NFL draft and I enjoyed it, but there wasn't much else for me to do. I wasn't feeling well. So that kind of became my thing. The NFL draft would come up and I would listen to it because a lot of times it was just on the radio or I'd have to be at home in front of ESPN. And it just kind of grew from there. Now we're 20, 30 years later, and the NFL draft is this big event. They do it Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It floats from town to town. I think they said there was 320,000 people at Thursday night's draft in Pittsburgh. And I clear my nights for it. I get myself something to snack on. I call it it's my one real holiday of the year. I'm not big on holidays, so this is my holiday. Lisa is good with it. She's like, I know you want to spend the weekend watching it, so you go enjoy. And that was my plan this weekend, to watch the NFL draft. And Thursday night was great. Friday night was great. Saturday went weird with everything with the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And just, but most of the weekend, I've just been watching the draft. So I was very happy about that. Panthers got some good players. There were a few, oh my God moments. And if you're into sports, it is as behind the scenes of baseball as you can get. It's like watching the DVD extras. It's like watching interviews with inkers, if you're a comic fan and suddenly you're seeing an interview with Scott Williams and how he goes through and treats all the pages that Jim Lee does. So yeah, that was my weekend. I was excited about that and I got to enjoy it. So anybody else watch it? Hope your teams did well. I do want to acknowledge there was a post by Jim Lee, and Jim is probably one of my favorite artists. Somebody asked the other day, name 3 of your favorite comic artists. And I said, Michael Golden, Bernie Wrightson, Jim Lee. If any of those three worked on a book, I'm in. That's all I need. If there's an option for a cover by them, that's the one I'm getting. Lions drafted 3 Michigan players. I don't think that ever happened before, so I'm happy. Yeah, I noticed that. If you watch the NFL Network, Rich Eisen is the host, and he's a Michigan alum. And every time they draft a Michigan player, he celebrates. So let's see. Jay says, "Funny you're wearing a Daredevil hat today. We're going to do a short live opening up 2 Daredevil blind bags." Yeah, I did my Daredevil blind bag, and I ended up getting the Daniel Warren cover. Don't love the cover. Don't it's don't love the cover. Yeah, but good luck on the blind bags. Yeah, I was hoping for either the Dan Panosian cover, the Joe Quesada cover, or of course one of the sketch covers. That would have been nice. Daniel Warren Johnson. Yeah, there's just something about the cover, the way the face is shadowed and it's got that one eye looking. It's disturbing. I don't like it. It reminds me a little of the art that Frank Miller is doing nowadays. And maybe that's what he was trying to do, being that Miller was one of the people that really turned Daredevil around and made it, popular. So maybe he was doing an homage to Frank Miller. But yeah, I think I have it right here. Yeah, see, that just doesn't. It's not a very good cover to me. There's a guy on TikTok. It's a comic store, and he'll show like 5 covers that came out that week, and he's like, "Which is your favorite cover?" One, two, and he goes through all of them. And I got to tell you, half the time I come away going, none of them. Can I choose none? None of the above? Because I just look at covers nowadays. They don't pop. A lot of it's the coloring or the line work. There's no depth to them. They'll do these very muted pastels or muted colors, so it just looks flat. I look at them, and then every once in a while they'll do a throwback cover, and it's like the art's probably not as good, but it looks better because of what they did. The page layouts were more eye-catching. The coloring was that. So, I mean, I'll be honest, I see a lot of the covers nowadays and just, I'm not impressed. Jay says, I wanted them to use the blind bag art as one of the covers. Yeah. Yeah, the whole list of covers that they did. Like I said, the Panosian one was cool, the Quesada one was cool. But a lot of them were just like, eh. I'm not that big a fan of what is her name? Peach Momoko. Not a big fan of Peach Momoko's artwork. And that's not saying, and when I say stuff like this, I am not saying that the person's not talented. There are a lot of artists out there that I think are incredibly talented, but their style isn't the kind that gets my attention. Yeah, I agree with you. Elquist, Bilquist Evely. I just got this bookmark in my latest package. I think is a very talented artist. Doesn't excite me art-wise. Like I said, you can tell what my art style is when you think of the three artists I told you already. You know, Michael Golden, Jim Lee, uh, Bernie Wrightson. I like detailed art. I like, powerful art. Um, I like most of Silvestri's stuff. I like, but maybe I'm just old. Maybe it's the older people that I grew up with. A lot of the newer stuff just doesn't work for me. You know, it's like I love Derek Robertson's art. Transmetropolitan was beautiful. The stuff he does on The Boys, and it's all unique. It's all him. It's you don't look at his work and think, oh, it's somebody else. But then you see all these other covers, and it's like, they don't pop. So I'd be curious what you guys who your favorite cover artists are nowadays. I see a lot of the ones from Dynamite, and some of them are pretty good. I mean, I think Joseph Linsner is a talented artist, but he does a lot of very similar covers. So, you know, um, Dan Panosian is really good. Yeah, like I said, just not excited about some of the covers coming out nowadays. Shakes fist. I don't like what you drawn. Ken Hazer. Ken Hazer is interesting because he's very cartoony, but he's consistent and it's his own style. So I don't have a problem with Ken Hazer. I don't necessarily, it's not, again, not in my wheelhouse, but I can appreciate his work. I guess that's just what it is. There's a lot of artists out there that I would love to own their work, and there's a lot of artists out there that I really couldn't care less about owning their work, but I appreciate their talent, if that makes sense. You know. But then I grew up on George Perez and John Byrne, and like I said, Michael Golden, Bernie Wrightson. A different era. Comics had a different feel. Nowadays, there's a much more cartoony style that just doesn't click for me. So, all right, we are way off in the woods here. So let's start. There's a fly on my wall. Think I could kill him? Well, that was an interesting series of events. All right. Well, we're totally off the rail. Jessica Court is really good. I see a lot of Jessica's sketch covers, and some are really good. Some are, I know. I guess that's another thing. I see sketch covers, and it's like some of them are great, some of them are like, I don't know. But then again, I only own one sketch cover, and that's a Tim Vigil version of Shadowhawk on a Shadowhawk book I wrote. So, wait till you see the newest Ian Wallace Justice League member tomorrow. Okay. I will keep an eye out for that. All right, let's get into the topics. Let's start with Clayface. Clayface, man. Did you guys watch the Clayface trailer? It's not even a trailer. It's just a teaser, a hint of what they're doing. And I'm impressed in the sense they made that creepy as hell. Him just staring at you with that one good eye. That's creepy, And they didn't even need to cut away and do the other scenes. Because they could have just done 60 seconds of that eyeball looking at you. And you just going, just take my money. Leave me alone. Here's my movie money. I'm not even going to sit in the theater. Just take my money. All yours. Um, this is something that I've admitted before, and it's going to be kind of strange to say if you guys know my writing history and the books I've done. I'm not a horror fan. I don't particularly like horror movies. Um, I've tried to figure out why. I think partly is I don't really get adrenaline rushes. So that jump scare adrenaline rush you get when you're watching a movie, you're like, oh, I don't get that. So to me, it's like, okay, you just cranked up the noise and tried to scare me for no apparent reason. Got it. It says Clayface looks very cool horror movie. I was pleasantly surprised. And then when he swipes his face away, I'm in. Yeah, see, I think that's the thing. Kevin Feige tries to take the different feels and genres of the characters and kind of pulls them all into the MCU. So yeah, She-Hulk is a little more out there. It's a fourth wall breaking. Deadpool, a little fourth wall breaking, but they're all pulled into the MCU. They all just it's kind of a merger. It's like we'll take some of that element and we'll take what works in the MCU and we'll blend them together. That's not what James Gunn is doing. James Gunn comes out and says, it's a horror movie. And everybody goes, oh, okay. So it's going to have horror elements, but it's still going to be a DCU movie. He's like, no, it's a horror movie. Oh, okay. So which Batman does it tie in? Who cares which Batman it ties into? We're telling the horror origin of a supervillain. It's a body horror movie. And then people see the trailer and they come out going, that's a horror movie. Yeah, that's what he's been saying. He didn't, he hired horror people to make a horror movie. What else did you want him to do? You know? And of the characters that could be, if you think about it, a lot of Batman's villains are potential horror characters. You know, we are used to a lot of these characters got started in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, where they were put in kids' comic books. So even though they kind of horrific characters or deadly characters, there were always kind of rounded edges, you know? And nowadays they're like, no, we're not doing the rounded edges anymore. The Penguin television series shows what a gangster like the Penguin would really be like. The Batman with the Riddler. I mean, he's the Zodiac killer in a lot of ways. He's not just a guy in green leotard running around laughing at the top of his lungs and, you know, putting riddles out. He's much more deadly, you know? And that's what we're getting now is they're kind of taking away the rounded edges. And they're doing this is probably the most extreme because they're just doing a true horror movie. Now, like I said, I don't like horror movies. I don't enjoy them because of all the things they do to try to freak you out or to scare you is either gross or jump scares. I used to like the older stuff. I like the Universal Monster movies, Hammer films, where it was more psychological stuff. Now, that's saying I'm not going to skip the movie, but I probably won't go see it in the theater. I'll probably wait till it hits HBO Max, and then I'll watch it. and see what I think. It says, I'm so curious how a hope-filled, fun Superman movie last year will tie into a movie like Clayface if it really is horror. Well, I mean, that's the thing is, it's this, I mean, we do it in the comics all the time. You know, you look at stuff like Arkham Asylum or some of the other darker books in the DC universe, and then Superman exists in it too, and they blend together because the characters are true to who they are in that story, and that's what you have to do. You know, you could take James Bond and put him in a comedy. You could take James Bond, put him in a serious role or a serious movie. But he's as long as he's still James Bond, that's what matters. You know, will Clayface and Superman meet? Maybe. That seems pretty extreme. Um, I would have been interested to see if this would have stayed in the Matt Reeves universe, and Matt Reeves is a producer on it. But Matt Reeves is going to end up producing anything that's Bat related. He's also a producer on the upcoming animated Dynamic Duo movie. So, and that's not in his universe either. So he's kind of the Batman guy when it comes to DC Studios. And I'm sure when they do Batman Brave and the Bold, he'll have some hand in it too. So even if it's just to make sure they're not crossing lines with what he's doing. It says, when I first saw the trailer, I thought it looked more like Matt Reeves' Batman would tie in. Can't wait to see how it plays out. Either way, I'm pumped. Yeah, I think it would fit in the Matt Reeves universe. I'm a little surprised they're not doing it, but you know, I've enjoyed the ride so far with James Gunn, so I'm just going to let him cook. You know, the trailer isn't long; it's just jumps all over the place, but they did a good job of making it creepy. And what's funny for me is that the staring eye thing is much creepier than him doing the face thing. You know, that's pretty good too, but that look they get with that eye, it's like, that's brilliant. So, so yeah, that's my thought on Clayface. I will watch it. I just probably won't go to the theater to watch it. So, all right, let's move on and talk about the trailer for Spider-Noir. Now, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on the Spider-Noir trailer. Um, Partly because you got the two options. You've got the black and white version and the color version. I know, Ed, you're going to watch the color version. And I'm glad they have that. I haven't decided yet. In the black and white, it feels like a noir. It feels like what they're trying to do. But there's something about the color that's interesting to me. But then there's moments where in black and white, a scene really works for me. You know, like him swinging around the New York City with the fedora and trench coat on. You know, that works in the black and white. It looks a little weird in color. So what I told Lisa, I said, okay, she's a big Nicolas Cage fan. So right there, she's in. Tap, she's in. I said, well, which way do you want to watch it? Color or black and white? She says, I don't know yet. Let me think about it. So I showed her both the trailer both ways. So I'm going to let Lisa decide. And I'll probably end up rewatching it the other way anyway. So, Oh, you haven't seen them, Thomas? Yeah, they just came out. Um, it's the same trailer, but it's done black and white, and then it's done in color. But the color is kind of interesting to me. Is it doesn't look like a standard color show or movie or yeah, whatever you want to call it. It looks like they took a black and white show and did colorization on it. So, and if that's what they did, that's awesome. So it does feel like you're watching a colorized version of a black and white series. It's kind of cool. Now, you see a lot of different villains in there. And what's funny is there's one that I'm pretty sure I was sure was supposed to be Electro, but I'm hearing he's actually a different villain, a villain that only appeared like once in the comics. I'm trying to remember what the name was. Somebody gave it like Megawatt or something. So that'll be interesting. And I'm curious, there's certain things that we're seeing that they're not doing. And I think it's for legality. Like the fact is, when you look at the name of the series, it's Spider Noir, not Spider Man Noir. And I think that is because Marvel has the rights to a Spider-Man TV show and Spider-Man animated show, and Sony has the rights to a Spider-Man movie, but couldn't do a show. So they're doing Spider Noir to get around not being able to call it Spider-Man. And it looks like there's certain characters and stuff. So I'm fascinated by it. I want to see more. I am looking forward to that. It's one of the two shows I just put on my list for later this year that I'm excited for. Spider Noir, and then when Strange New Worlds returns in July, I'm excited for that. I'll be honest, I love Strange New Worlds. I love what they're doing with that series. I really like Ethan Peck as Spock. I'm getting used to the guy playing Captain Kirk. I absolutely would love if the show, when it ends in, I think, season 5, that it rolls into being kind of a, Star Trek original cast or original crew season 1 or beginning or Star Trek beginning or whatever you want to call it. So it keeps going because I really do like the people they have playing these characters. You've got your Scotty, the only people we don't have so far are, I think, Chekhov and McCoy. And we're going to get McCoy, and it's actually an old friend of mine, Thomas Jane. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with that. But yeah, so I'm happy about both those trailers came out this weekend. Yeah, I think that's going to be really cool. What about you guys? You looking forward to Spider-Man Noir? Are you going to watch? I know Jay's going to watch in color because of Jenna, and Ed's going to watch for himself. What about Thomas? You going to watch black and white or color? Anybody else? Who else is here? Is Kat here yet? So, please in chat, tell me which version you're going to watch, or are you going to watch both? I think it might be interesting to watch both. Yeah. All right, let's get to our final topic, and that is Daredevil. We got Jessica Jones back. And I wonder how many people caught how significant what we learned is. All right, Thomas, that's cool. All right, I am going to change the banner for now to spoilers because I'm going to talk a little spoilers for the recent Daredevil episode because I want to cover what we learned. We learned that there are some other powered people, that Mr. Charles reached out to Jessica about working for the government, He's reached out to some other powered people. Some said yes, some said no. Oh, Mr. Dope says, I might check it out black and white first and then in color. It'd be cool to see something that way for the first time. Yeah, I agree. So, so they're hinting at other characters went to work for Mr. Charles. But the really important thing was when we first saw Jessica and how she was getting attacked at home, who she was protecting. Jessica Jones is a mother now. She has a child. And that's straight out of the comics. Now, her powers have gone a bit unreliable. So that's going to make some interesting moments. That's not from the comics. That didn't happen in the comics. But it's already happened in the middle of the fight with the cops or with the anti-vigilante task force. Her powers cut out and, back in type thing. But the child is the daughter of her and Luke Cage. Now, we know that they hooked up in the first season of Jessica Jones. In the comics, they're together. The child is Danielle Cage and has an interesting history in the comics. She goes on, hey, Kat, good to see you. So she goes on, and in the comics, different futures. In one, she becomes Captain America. She gets the shield. In another, she actually becomes Thor or gets Thor's hammer. So it's a character that they play with in the Marvel Universe a lot. But it's interesting that we get her here. What that means, she's very young. So it's not like she's going to be another character for the Young Avengers if they ever do it. I mean, she's a little too young for that. But it was interesting that they introduced her that way, and they haven't come out and said that she's Luke's kid. But you look at her and you look at the version of the comics and you're like, it's Luke's kid. Jessica and Luke had a baby, which, awesome. Because I'm very happy that we've seen the stuff with Luke coming back and Danny Rand supposed to be coming back in season 3. There are so many images coming out from the set of season 3 that it's kind of spoiling season 2 at this point. Have you guys seen the images? Do you know where they seem to be kind of going? What the storyline might be for season 3? I mean, it's pulling from the comics again. It may end up putting somebody else in the Daredevil costume. I mean, it's putting Matt in kind of a unique place. I know I said spoilers, but that seems like it's speculation. But if you know the story, Matt has a big beard in it. And all the set photos of Charlie Cox for season 3, he has a beard. And I don't mean a little stubbly one. I mean good-sized beard. Like what I've got in sides. So it does look like they're going that direction, which will be awesome. I think it would be an interesting story. There's photos of Vincent D'Onofrio on the set. He looks different. So we got 2 episodes left of the season. And it's probably going to be pretty wild. A Nope beard. Does Mr. Nope have a big beard? I think I've seen a picture of Mr. Nope, so. This last episode we've seen, everybody is turning on Wilson, which is funny because you would think with his wife being killed, there'd be more sympathy. That people would be like, okay, we know you need some time and stuff. But then we did see somebody try to comfort him and end up getting killed. So, yeah, do not offer to hug Wilson Fisk. If you come away from anything from that episode, just keep in mind you should never hug Wilson Fisk. Ed says he looks like the dude from The Big Lebowski. He even dresses like that for our Halloween show. Nice. Yes, it's due for a trim sooner. Summer is soon. Yeah, I let this get long, or I'll not save it, and suddenly gets. There was a point for a while there that I had gotten to almost like a Santa Claus beard. So people think, oh, you grow a beard so you don't have to shave. No, that's not true. You still have to shave to keep it in shape. But, all right, so what I think is going to happen these last two episodes is everybody's going to start going after Fisk. I mean, Mr. Charles is obviously upset because he didn't get his guns, his pew-pews. The governor, without Vanessa to kind of rein him in, doesn't feel like she can back Fisk. So it's all going to come crumbling down. But what will be the aftermath? How does it crumble down? The people are starting to rise up. Karen has been taken by the anti-vigilante task force now. I mean, or at least it looks like it. There's a lot to wrap up in, but is there 2 episodes worth? It's kind of funny. After the end of episode 5, it felt like we could have wrapped everything up in episode 6. And the realization of we've got 3 episodes was kind of surprising. And then this latest episode brought in Jessica, but it didn't really expand the story any. So I'm just kind of curious what we're going to do for the next 2 episodes. How we're going to wrap this up. Is it if we're going to find out more things? Are we going to find out that Fisk has done more damage to the city than we know? Or are they hinting that with the fact that Mr. Charles has some people that decided to work for him, are we going to get some kind of big superpowered battle by the end of this? I mean, it's very vague right now. We don't know exactly where it's going because some of the things we thought would need to be resolved are kind of wrapping up. Fisk is starting to fall. He's losing his support. So what happens? What fills 2 more episodes? A giant superhero battle would do it. Ending with the world believing that Fisk is dead is likely. Ending where they believe that Daredevil or Matt Murdock is the killer would also be likely. But the rest of it, is Mr. Charles part of season 3? Don't know. Does Mr. Charles come out alive or does Kingpin kill him? Do we see Luke at any point? We got an idea that they're coming in season 3. Do we see him now? Where, I kind of feel like episode 6 gave us some new things to think about, but didn't really add to the story. It was kind of, did we need episode 6? Yeah, we need it from the point of view of watching the Kingpin's uh, empires start to crumble. And questioning, Daniel and BB and what all that's going on. And they're obviously setting up Heather as the next muse, but probably not till season 3. So there's just a lot of weird stuff going on. It's interesting though. It feels like a comic. That's the thing, is it doesn't feel like we're going to get a nice story arc ending. Maybe we're going to resolve the Kingpin Mayor thing, but how many things are going to be carried over to the next season? And that's very comic book like. That's what you do in a comic. You set things up to be paid off later. We don't need her. We don't need Heather in the Muse mask right now. That slow buildup. We what happens in season 1 corrupts her. She ends up in season 2, starts going down that path. We don't see it till season 3. Maybe it doesn't resolve till season 4 if we get a season 4. I think that's a good way to do it, where it's a background story until it needs to be a main story. Feels like comic. Is that a Braille joke? No. Nope, not a Braille joke. So yeah, I like how they're doing that. I kind of want them to leave open things. We don't need to resolve everything. Let them carry over into season 3. So I think Muse should carry over, or Heather should carry over to season 3. Maybe she's finally getting close to somebody with Buck. Maybe Buck gets killed, and that's what pushes her over the edge. I still think it would be a neat twist if we find out that Daniel is actually the grandson of Leland Owsley, that he's using a fake name, and he becomes the Owl. Because when they first cast Michael Gandolfini, it made me think of the Owl, and seeing him running around in the big green suit and the claws would be kind of fun. And we really haven't gotten other of the Daredevil villains that we should. We've gotten Kingpin and Bullseye and Elektra and the Hand, but the Owl or Mr. Fear. The Purple Man was taken by Jessica Jones. Typhoid Mary was taken by Iron Fist. It just feels like we need something different going forward, since we've already had Kingpin a lot. So season 3, suddenly being the Owl trying to take over what Kingpin had set up would be interesting. Those are just my thoughts on it. All right, guys. That's pretty much the show tonight. Is there anything you guys want to ask? Any questions? I still don't know what's going on with Reacher at this point. I know they're filming, but don't know when that'll be released. Lisa tells me dinner is ready. So Ed says a little off topic, but curious for your thoughts. You think we'll see She-Hulk again, or did she get too much hate? Actually, Brad Winderbaum, the head of Marvel TV, said that She-Hulk was technically Marvel's most successful series. So I don't think we're done with She-Hulk. I think she'll probably show up in either Doomsday or Secret Wars. Will we get another series? I don't know. Maybe a special. But Yeah, I don't think we're done with She-Hulk. I think it did better. See, the problem is when you have the internet, a couple voices can seem loud when they're screaming. So you have these people that do stuff like review bomb something or just post like crazy, you know, that something's horrible. But then when you get to the general consensus, it's not the same. You know, DC learned that with the Snyder Cut. So many people were crying for the Snyder Cut. But when you get down to it, there wasn't that many people. It was that group of people being very loud and making their presence seem larger. And I think you get that when some of these shows get these negative feelings, and that's what I think happened with She-Hulk. I think She-Hulk. I didn't love the ending, but it was a very She-Hulk ending. But Brad Winderbaum, Ed, look that up. Brad Winderbaum said that the She-Hulk series was Marvel's most successful. So yeah, I don't think she's done. I think Tatiana Maslany will be back. So, but just how, I'm not sure. All right, guys, I am going to wrap it up there. I hope you all had a good weekend and you're going to have a great week. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. I will most likely be back Sunday, but I'm not promising for sure because we're actually going to do a little get together Saturday night. Even though my birthday is Wednesday, we're going to get together on Saturday night. So Sundays, I might be tired. We're going to do a game night. We're going to do Cards Against Humanity, some drinking, stuff like that. So free comic book day this Saturday. Okay. Also, if you guys have a Warhammer store or a Games Workshop in your area, I don't mention this enough, but they give away free miniature figures. They have basic ones they give away, and then they have a figure of the month. And some of them are very cool. This was the figure I got probably 2 months ago. And all you have to do is just show up. They give them away the first Saturday of the month. So if you guys have a game workshop, you don't have to buy anything. You could just go in, go, hey, I was told you guys give free minis away this day. I'm looking to check it out. Can I get one? And anytime you go into one, they have little miniatures you can build and paint there. They'll teach you to paint the whole thing. So if you're looking for like a fun day to get out of the house, you got a date, you want to take your kids out, go to a Games Workshop or Warhammer store. They have both names. So I know I'm a Warhammer addict, but all right, guys, thank you for tuning in. Again, likely I'll be here next Sunday, but if I'm not, don't be surprised. And I will see you all soon. Take care. Be safe. Have a great